Welcome to Born to be Barefoot. I'm your host, Stuart Gordon, with my co-host, Katie Suyuki. Welcome to our latest edition of Born to be Barefoot, our lovely podcast sponsored by Barefoot Science Insoles. And we're very excited today. We've got a wonderful guest who seems to be here, there, and everywhere with her running stories and her running organizations. Now, this lady's called Kelly Roberts, and she's got a variety of interests in the running world, but her key one, I believe, is called the Badass Lady Gang. Now, saying that with an English accent probably doesn't come across quite right, but I'll try it again. So the Badass Lady Gang.
Badass Lady Gang.
Thank you, Katie. So, Kelly, welcome.
I thought you sounded perfect the first time. I just love hearing my name in an accent. It's just like warm honey all over me.
Oh, good. So we've titled you up with the Badass Lady Gang, but you've got a couple of other things on the go as well. Just quickly, give us a quick resume for our listeners so that they know what you're about and where you're coming from.
I've been around the block, y'all. I've been doing this too long. So there's all sorts of, social movements and all sorts of different stuff. But I'm a running coach. I started a blog almost 10 years ago. And through that, the Badass Lady Gang was born, which is our really like our global community. We have lots of really, really awesome movements like the Sports Bra Squad, which we were kind of talking about. The Sports Bra Squad is it's a body image resilience movement, really trying to help women understand why running in a sports bra or running in shorts is so scary for so many people. I mean, it's everything from violence against women all the way up to fat phobia to all of the, ingrained body image issues that we're raised with, what do I look like? What's the beauty ideals, et cetera, et cetera. But those are the kind of the two biggest ones are our global community and then the Sports Bra Squad.
So you started this off, were you a running coach when you started it, or is this something you trained to do since getting into running?
No way, Jose. I hated sports and physical activity for most of my life. I started running 10 years ago. So I jumped headfirst into I'm going to run from all of my problems pond, which I feel like most people who decide to run a marathon pretty quickly are doing. They are hiding from something. And that was me. And I very quickly went viral and found, an audience and a platform in the running world. And I didn't know anything. And I had a very difficult time finding people who shared the same experience as me. Because when I got started, we didn't have influencers. I was among the first wave of running influencers. The blogs were all people who ran incredibly fast and didn't talk about crying on street corners, which was my experience. And I was like, I don't understand. People have to love to hate this the way I do. They can't all just be like effortlessly good at this. What's missing? And the more I talked about it, the more I realized so many people find running when they're going through life changes or trauma, or they truly decide like, I'm sick and tired of punishing myself at the gym and I want to do something that actually makes me feel good. And they find running and they're like, who knew that the thing that I dreaded as a kid or in PE was this fabulous way that I don't have to murder everyone around me when everyone drives me insane. It's so great in so many different, facets of our lives. It helps in so many different ways. And it was a gradual evolution into, like a running coach. My background's in theater. I got my undergraduate degree in theater, which ironically is something I use every single day because it's so similar to running. You have to prepare. And then it has to be fresh on the day. You have to let it all go and be open to anything, which is like hand in hand with running. You can't go into a race, your big, giant moonshot race saying, this is exactly what's going to happen. You can't force it. You have to be ready for the speed bumps and the curveballs and the highs and the lows. And I use everything I learned in theater, ironically. Like I probably learned so much more there than I did in any running certification course.
That's great. Yeah,
that makes sense.
One of the things that struck me when I was, because Katie and I research deeply with all our guests. Nice. One of the things I did like was the fact that you were targeting this audience of non-runners who are running kind of thing. Because as you quite rightly say, I mean, I've been involved with this for a long time and seen all of these sites. I can't believe how many there are with people offering, programs to follow for this, that, and the other. And you're quite right. The vast majority are based around high performance, and not just getting out there and having things like Couch to 5K, which we have over here, and Park Run, of course, have changed that attitude, I think, fantastically, and help. But obviously, if you've been doing this for 10 years, it's a great message to be putting across. So how big is this? You said this badass lady gang is a worldwide movement. Tell us, whereabouts are you?
Yeah, so we have two different kind of arms of what we do in terms of community. We have a huge, giant online community that is a safe place that's not Facebook, for people to go where there's no anonymity. You have a name, you have a face to that name, and people like genuinely are growing community. I think community is a word that kind of got commodified the last couple of years, and everyone's building community. But in real life, like when I talk about community, if people aren't meeting outside of the run, if people aren't connecting, like if I have a team member who lives in Seattle and they go to London and they're not reaching out to people that they know online in London, like that's not a real community. Community is real, it's tangible, it's in person, even though most of it can happen online. So for us, like those are the connections that we're really trying to foster, is how can we genuinely make connections with someone in Australia and then someone who's in Mexico City and then someone who's in New York City? How can we make sure that they're all congregating once a year, once every 4 years, once in their lifetime, where they're like, I really want to meet these people who I get to hang out with so much. So we have our online community, and then we have 10 in-person chapters. So you can go in the US and Canada to our in-person chapters. And then we do meetups all over the place that are more unofficial. So Sports for Us Squad Day tends to have, like 100 meetups that are community led all over the world. So we do stuff like that are more pop-up driven, but then we have our 10 in-person chapters that meet every single week, same place, same day, same time.
And they're in different parts of the world, right? Or mainly America?
US and Canada right now are in person. COVID changed a lot. I forced a lot of our chapters to retire because women don't put themselves first. And I was like, I love you. And I love that you have this community, but go enjoy it. You can't lead anymore. Like, you need a break.
Yeah, I did that to a lot of great things and movements that were going on. But it's good to see that things are picking up again. And just being on even just your Instagram and TikTok pages, you can see how people who necessarily don't like running or don't think that they fit within this like running box gravitates towards what you're providing, yeah, it's really cool. So what are some of the sort of the headlining struggles that these women are coming to you with? Is it mostly like, is it self-image? Is it, their physical ability to even just get out there? Or, what's some of the challenges that you see a lot of?
I think it's a lot of the normal stuff that when someone seeks out a more structured program, it's someone who wants a little bit more guidance in the process. I think for us, the biggest thing that we really focus on is self-efficacy. This basic belief, do you believe you will succeed, right? And in order to even get there, you have to be able to define what success and failure is. So much of my programming, the programming that we do with the Badass Lady Gang, is just mental. We offer lessons and resources in every single one of our plans and programs that come with like journals and like audio stuff. And then we have all sorts of experts, from sports psychologists to registered dietitians. Education is so much of what we do. So like if you're looking for something that you just want to follow, like don't come to us. We have that and we can give it to you, but like we're really looking to give people the tools that they need to move well for life and feel strong for life, whether it's lifting weights, running, whatever. I think the strongest runners are not the runners who run all the time. They're the ones who feel confident saying like, hey, I'm going to take 6 months off and go do this other thing and maybe run here or there. And then I'll come back to it knowing and believing like I can do this again, instead of I can't take a break because if I stop, I'm never going to start back up again. Like I'm a quitter. Like all like really helping people identify core beliefs, core values, all the things that tend to be the reason why Pinterest is a thing, right? Like those platitudes of, if you run, you're a runner. And it's like, that's lovely and great. But if we're not getting to the root of why people don't think they're a runner and why they don't think they belong, like, we're just going to slap Band-Aids on everything. Like, that's not really how we roll.
Mm-hmm. So are you also connecting these women with like therapists and PTs? Oh, you are. So that's a whole other part of.
You like to joke that the best way to get into therapy pipeline is 6 weeks.
To therapy.
It's great. Like, I think for a lot of people, they've had therapy. How wonderful that so many people now have had some experience with therapy. But I think a lot of people haven't had great experiences with therapy.
Yeah.
So when you can give them the verbiage and kind of help them go into it the next time asking for things and having a little bit of a different understanding of where they are and where their like predefined limits stand. And maybe that predefined limit that you have in running also applies to work or maybe your love life, like how everything enmeshed and interconnected through these expert talks, where you get, I'm a huge believer that like, I'm not the all powerful person who's here. Like, I'm not going to tell you anything I don't know, but like, I'm going to hire a bunch of incredible experts who can come on and lead multiple calls. And so that people can talk to them and rewatch and get the verbiage that they need to then turn to someone who can more one-on-one help them.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause especially like the whole referral side, because, when people think therapy, like even when I just think like, oh, I need to find a doctor or something, I'm like, oh man, there's a sea of doctors. How do I find the one for me? So being able to like reach out to someone and be like, hey, you're a little bit like me. Like maybe I should talk to who you're talking to, is pretty key.
Even just having people to echo experiences of like, this doctor said this to me, and then have people be like, go find someone else. Find someone who's going to believe you. Like, that is so powerful to have that ecosystem of people who are just like, we have a pretty emotionally intelligent crew. It's just, I think it just comes from the community we built and the culture we've established, but also no one's coming to us if they don't want to do the work. Like you're going to go get a free plan on Google. We're going to ask you to like.
Yeah, but those free plans on Google's to meet somebody who actually followed a free plan to the end is like.
They're not the best. They're not
a needle in a haystack,
I know, but like our stuff is tough. It's really mentally challenging.
Yeah.
I'll give it that.
But anyone who's gone to your Instagram page or your TikTok page, you see there's a lot of like production that's going on with your videos and such. So like, do you have a whole team of do you have producers and editors? Is that just you? Like, who's the guy running beside you? He seems quite funny in himself. Like,
that's my team. That's Scott. Scott's my best friend in the whole wide world, and he's actually like an incredible, cinematographer and an editor. He has his own business. He kind of does this as like a help for me. I pay him, but he's hilarious. And I've known him since I was born. So our rapport is, like we have a shorthand with each other. But I did the thing where I ran around with a GoPro filming myself for like 4 years and daily vlogs. And post-COVID, I was like, I can't. I missed the boat. Like, had TikTok started 4 years earlier, like I would be on top of the world. But like, I couldn't bring myself to do it all by myself anymore. And my business is in a very different place. Like, I don't have the 2 hours to do that. So I'm very fortunate that I can hire people to be with me and edit my stuff. And, like I script it all out, do it. Like, nothing's as spontaneous as it seems. Like, everything is scripted. So like we know exactly what we're shooting, but it's really great not doing it myself.
Oh yeah, I did the Olympics and going in. That's when like video blogs were like big, in like 2010 to 2014, and it's a mission, man. It's such a mission to be doing it all on your own. Like people don't realize, but like every minute that you see or whatever is at least an hour of like production editing, throwing it together. Like finding the video clips to go underneath.
10-minute daily vlog. Like I tried to be cute and I vlogged that whole thing, and it was probably 2 or 3 hours of editing every day. And I was getting like 4 hours of sleep, which was like, thank God I was in my 20s. But So dumb. Like totally the antithesis of what you need to do like a huge giant goal. Like you need sleep. And I was like, no, I gotta edit these things. I'm like, this is the gig. It sucks. It was
You need a
awful.
team. And like for people who are aspiring to do kind of the style stuff that you do, you got to encourage them to find their team, right?
I think if you're just getting started, you can absolutely get away with doing it yourself. Like we're not doing long form content anymore. A 10-minute vlog is a completely different thing than a 30-second, 90-second video. And like you look at the tech we have now, like I was running around with a GoPro and a waterproof case because that's all we had. Like it didn't even image stabilize. Now like your iPhone image stabilizes, which like that alone has brought so many creators into the fold, which is it's so cool to see that when you go onto TikTok or Instagram, so many different people making running content. Because for a while there was like less than 50 people doing it, or like all over the world. Like no one was doing it. Mainly because it was so hard.
Well, the interesting thing about that, you said obviously you're promoting a general health aspect to this, not just running. And there you were crashing around with 4 hours sleep.
Yeah, the least healthy person in the whole world for like half of it, for sure.
It does. That's what happens, though, isn't it? With this sort of stuff, when it's like any business you start, you have to put the hours in. You do everything, as you say, because there is nobody else to do it. You can't afford to pay anybody else to do it at the beginning. And it is a slight oddity that the very thing that we're pushing when we're doing that is a healthy existence and a mentally, physically healthy. And there we are slogging ourselves into an early grave.
It was also that was in vogue in those early years of like, this was you could put videos on Instagram and stuff like that. Like that hustle culture was so in, where everyone was doing all the things and it was so cool to do everything and to say yes to everything and to not sleep, which I look back and I'm like, I want to punch every single person on YouTube who made me think that was it, which like, hurt. And now you can't get me outside of my house. Like, I'm like, sorry, I got to get my 12 hours and go to that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Sleep is quite important. Yeah. Do you have any kids, Kelly?
No, I worked really hard at making that my reality.
Well, like your one meme, running is easier than dating.
Yeah. That was a shirt we did for Valentine's Day.
Like I found my husband. I'm fortunate enough to, I went down to New Zealand to go train down there when I was snowboarding, and I found him, and that was 10 years ago this year. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm just like, if anything ever happened, I'm like, you're just stuck with me. The fact that like, I never want to ever have to go out and date again.
Yeah. I've been with my boyfriend for 2 years. And when he met me, I was kind of really in my redefining my relationship with running and getting healthy again and finding balance. And now I've dipped back into the I want to do a half Ironman this year. So I'm just starting to train and I'm doing all the things again. And he's kind of like, wait, you running a marathon last year was pretty terrible. Like, I don't even want to imagine what you running an Ironman is like. Like, this is, should we talk about this? And I'm like, no, dude, it's already done. I've already signed up.
Paid my dues.
One of the other things that I really like it's the sports bra squad thing. I mean, I treat people with bad backs, bad necks for a living, and over 30 years, the number of women who I've treated because of this problem of a lack of support, they're trying to do sport, right, or even in some cases just trying to get through the daily life. But when you add running into it, it's so I love the fact that you brought that out big time into the open and you're pushing it, and there's a lot of advice on your site about how to get properly sorted, isn't there? That's great. So well done with that one. That's you need to take that worldwide.
Yeah, and your confidence of you're like, I'm going to sports bra anywhere if it's summertime or I can, and all of your videos and everything, just having people see that, and your confidence that you give off really, pushes on to, all the other women or any other sports bra wearing people out there that are like, yeah, I can do it too, right?
Yeah, the sports bra squad has had such an evolution, because when it started, I didn't know anything about anything. All I knew where the parrots on my shoulders screamed so loud. Like I wouldn't even put a bikini on at my parents' house and tan in the backyard. That's how insecure I was with my body image. So like the idea of putting a sports bra on and go running 15 miles in New York City and seeing thousands of people on my run was horrifying. So when it started, it was absolutely this body positivity movement. Like you have a body, like you should feel good in your body without understanding. It's very similar to if you're a runner, what I brought up earlier, like beautiful statement, because it is true. If you have a body, it's a good body. It's the only body you get. Like It doesn't make any sense that we spend time berating ourselves or feeling anything other than empowered by our bodies, because it's all you got. You truly, like, you can't change it. So once I started learning more about that being a Band-Aid and why we feel the way we feel and what, all the different powers at play are, it was like, great, now we can just give resources. It's not just face your fears and take your sports bra off. It's like, you don't have to take your shirt off, right? Like you can run in a shirt and still feel as insecure as you do in a sports bra.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get to the root of, what are you saying to yourself? What do you believe to be true about yourself on terrible body image days, truly bad body image days? What happened? What did you see that's making you think, feel, and believe a certain way about yourself? What's really, really, really making all that happen to you? And then it's like, what sports bra are you wearing? Are you wearing the right sports bra for your body type, right? Like, to your point, Stuart, like I get lockjaw. Like I'm having jaw issues because of my bras, which is so, like, I shouldn't have to be in physical therapy because I'm trying to run with big boobs. Like that sucks. That's so frustrating. And so many women, it's limiting to them. They don't run because they don't think they can because they have big boobs. And it's like, no, you can find really, really, really good. You can't find a really good sports bra. It doesn't exist. But you can find some of the better sports bras that are out there that will support you. But no one's offering those resources. Thanks to TikTok, I think it's easier now than it ever was before. But like the Sports Bra Squad has come so far, and now we can actually give people resources that will change their lives because it will lead them to therapy.
So you say you're training now for half an Ironman, right?
Yep.
So what's the mileage for half a mile? I'm not really a runner. I never remember these things. So what is the mileage for half a marathon, Ironman marathon?
Half marathon, I think it's 50, 55, 52, 50 miles on a bike, something like that, something in that realm. And then it's 1.2 mile swim, something like that.
That's about right.
I don't even know. I can't even like bring myself to think about it. It's too scary.
So do you run? How's your biking and swimming going?
So biking and swimming are actually the things I really like, and things that, like, I grew up in San Diego, like in water always. And my dad was
okay.
a swimmer. So like I've never really like had lessons, but based on like my upbringing and with my dad, like I'm a pretty strong swimmer as is. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And same with cycling. Running is ironically the thing that I like dread.
Wow. Okay. So what are you doing right now to train for it?
I need to get a coach. I've talked to a couple people and I just need to like pull the trigger. But I'm really just like cycling 4 days a week, swimming 2 days a week, and running 3 days a week. Just kind of like, I have a very strong base because I knew I was going to do it. And now it's just a matter of like the structural training needs to begin. And of course, strength work.
You see, coaches get coaches too.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Well,
That's
especially
right.
like, I don't know anything about this world. I don't know anything about transitioning. I don't know the rules. Like, I need a wetsuit. I don't know how to look for a wetsuit. Like, I know surfing wetsuits, but like, what's the difference? And do I need one? Like that stuff, I have no idea. Luckily, do you know Scratch, the nutrition and hydration drinks?
No.
They're lovely. They have a registered dietitian on their team who has been helping me with like dial in the eating part of it, which I think is going to be the dodgiest part, making sure I don't have any GI distress, but it's going to be funny to watch.
And your partner, your boyfriend, he doesn't do any of that stuff?
Poor guy. No, he does not. He does not. He does not like it.
Well, at least you don't end up competing against each other on that basis. That's not a bad thing.
I know, right? I know he was like, I'm never going to run. Like, I hope you know that. Like when we first started dating and I'm like, dude, running is mine. Like, I never want to run with you. So cycling, like he has bikes and that would be fun. But like running, no, I never want to run with a partner ever. I've heard way too many horror stories.
Road bike, mountain bike,
city bike, really. Like if they're just road bike.
Yeah.
You definitely need to get yourself a coach. From the sound of it.
Totally.
Are you going like somewhere like, hot, or are you doing
No,
these
it's in
work?
my backyard. It's here. It's in Brooklyn. The first one they've ever done in New York, I guess.
You open water swim in Brooklyn?
It's a bay, so I don't think it's open water. It's like I think it's called Jones Beach Back Bay, maybe something like that.
Oh yeah.
It's salt water, but it's a bay.
Okay.
Oh. So,
I've only been to Brooklyn once before, and
Oh, really?
yeah, but like quick, like in out time.
It's huge. Like
Yeah.
if Brooklyn were its own city, I think it would be one of the top 5 biggest cities in the United States.
Yeah.
Just Brooklyn.
wow.
Yeah, New York. What was the move from San Diego to New York? What was the pull there?
Theater. I just always wanted to be here. Where I grew up, I went to school south of Los Angeles, and the arts culture is just very different in LA. I wouldn't use the word culture. I think there is no culture, like there everyone's like, you wanted to be on a reality show, do you want to be in movies? And it's like, no, I want to be in theater,
Mhm.
So here when you tell someone you got your undergrad in theater, they're like, oh, what are the playwrights you love? Things like that. Like you never get that question out in California. So I just always wanted to be here. I loved it here. Winter I hate so much, but
Yeah, right.
luckily global warming, half full, half full. But
But it's like I'm in Toronto, right? And it's
yeah.
Summers here are like awesome. Like we got lakes just north, but the winter here, like people are like, oh yeah, I went to Toronto and I went there in like December. And I was like, why? Why would you even do that? Who goes there? My husband one time, because my husband's from New Zealand. And so my husband one time was doing a layover or something in Toronto before he met me. And he just it's like, I remember looking outside the airport window and just thinking, who would want to live here? And how is this plane going to take off? And I'm like, yeah, that's what it's like.
After living in San Diego, I just don't understand people who live places with winter. Like I know people love winter sports. Like I did not. I don't want to be cold ever. It's no way to live.
Kelly, if you come down to New Zealand, you'll have to give me a shout so I can be a part of your community. And I live in Wanaka, which is like one of the just outside Queenstown, which is I think it's the world's extreme capital or something, like extreme sport capital. But it's
oh my god,
yeah, you put that one on your list. Queenstown, Wanaka.
I want to go to New Zealand so bad.
They have a direct flight now from New York.
Really?
New Zealand does. Yeah, I think it was like this week or something.
You need to go out there and launch a badass lady running group.
We had one in New Zealand pre-COVID, and then they were one of the ones that I was like, go live your life. Please go take a break.
And they haven't reached out again to be like, hey, we should pick that up again. That was quite cool.
For a lot of people, COVID just changed priorities, and that was why I asked so many of my leaders to retire, like where they were 2-3 years prior when they started it wasn't where they were when they came out of it. And I think that's great. They shouldn't be giving as much time, right? Like I always say leading a community is like a part-time job. It's very hard to be a community leader.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to grow an in-person community. And it's not something that people should be doing for so long. So like if people aren't willing to step up, like you're better off just dissolving and letting people, run together than trying to like keep something alive that it should move on,
What are your aspirations then, Kelly, for this sort of next year, 6 months, year? Where are you aiming for with your plans and aspirations?
We're really just trying to grow the Badass Lady Gang. We have so many 11+ minute milers in our community, which in my experience, it's hard to find good plans and coaches that support that type of a runner. You know, when you get a cookie cutter training plan that's asking you to run 18 miles when you're training for a marathon, when you're a 14, 16, 20-minute miler, like that's insane. You know, like it's just really frustrating. It's frustrating why people don't understand how to do strength work efficiently for them. You know, people only have X amount of time. And I'm the type of coach that if you have a D's get degrees kind of approach where you only have 4 days, like, is it the best? No, but like, let's get you to the starting line, not feeling like you missed every single thing on your training plan. You can feel good and confident, and also make sure that you're prioritizing what needs to get prioritized. And you're just not left to your own devices. So it's hard to get across what we do. You know, like people have an idea of what running communities are, what a running crew is, or what it means to train with a coach. But like what we do is very different. So we're just hard at work trying to spread the word of like what it is that we're doing. It's so different.
Well, I love how you say there's only two things that are in your control, right, Kelly?
Attitude and effort level.
That's right, attitude and effort level. Yeah, exactly. And that means so much. And even just having someone like hear those words and just like, oh yeah, those are the things I control. Because you know, when you get into these under the thumb competition situations, your mind can really get run off with.
Oh yeah,
can go wrong, and then this, and what about this? And it's like it could do that, but that's not within your control, right?
Yeah. The whole suffering piece of it was so difficult for me for so long, especially when I was really trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon. I truly could not understand how you could make a decision other than suffering when you were doing, I don't know, like crazy amounts of 800s or like some of these like really, really scary things. And that two things inside of your control, attitude and effort level was it's a gift to me from Dr. Robert Orb, a sports psychologist. And it took probably 6 weeks of me like learning and relearning and relearning and relearning and relearning for that to like truly land and for me to understand what it meant. Didn't mean you can't struggle. It didn't mean you can't feel frustrated. It didn't mean you're never going to get away from that feeling of like extreme discomfort and pain and fear when you're trying to run as fast as you can in 26.2 miles. You know, like that's just the way it is when you're doing something like that. Mm-hmm. But you can change your attitude around it and start reaching for tools to help you through that rough patch, not pretend the rough patch wasn't existing, which is what I was trying to do. I was trying to like disassociate, or I was thinking like, I must be doing this wrong. I must not be good enough. I must like all of these things that I believe to be true about myself were coming up instead of me just saying like, no, this is just really hard. And I haven't hit yet. I haven't done it yet. And we just keep trying. And it was so hard, like contextually, and it's so easy to wrap your head around attitude and effort level. It's like, of course. And then you do it and you're like, no, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking to a snowboarding coach last night, and he said something pretty interesting to me about his perspective on like cultures and the way how they approach things. So he's like, some of these American snowboarders and stuff, they're kind of looking for like the easy in, like they want to hop on. We're talking about snowboards. They're hopping on a snowboard and they want to feel like a Cadillac right away. He's like, but I go and work with the French team. And he's like, the French team, you put them on something that's really stiff and hard. And they're not like, oh man, it's too hard. They're like, I need to harden myself so that I can reach up, step up to this board and be like, yes, I'm going to own this board. And he's like, there's two different like cultures, perspectives. It's so crazy different, like black and white, like
total sense. And I bet it's different between men and women, like just this idea of like failing and not being good and like going into something and like, I know for me, something I love about running is I'm not good. Like I am not a good runner. It is not something I'm naturally born, like effortlessly doing. When I look at other things in my life, like I know when I'm good at something, and I love that running like forces me to remind myself, like, it's okay to be terrible. It's okay to be bad. It's okay to do something that you're not amazing at. Cause like I grew up with a very sports dad who almost went to the Olympics and really, really wanted us to be the best we could, which I don't think is a bad thing, but it did instill this, like, if you're not the best, something's wrong. instead of just being like, if you're not the best, you could just try harder, keep practicing and maybe you'll get there. It was never that for me. It was like, if you're not the best, like I was ashamed. And running really helps me like in those moments where I do start to revert back to so much of like what I was raised with and these beliefs that I have about myself, about failing and
and breaking through them, right? And being like,
yeah, I'm not knowing what I'm doing, being okay.
You obviously, you think that you're terrible at running, but you obviously love it.
I love it and I hate it. It frustrates the hell out of me, that's for sure. And it always has, and I think it always will.
You're just that type of person that's just like, just sticks with those things, and because because it frustrates you, it's kind of like that little like stick that's poking you to be like, oh, I'm going to go back with it and see I don't
know. I don't think I do that with anything else. I think with running, I think I do it still because it's my job. I'm curious what would happen if this wasn't like my bread and butter, if this wasn't how I made my living, if I would do it. I think I would. I do think I love it. I really do. I get really frustrated by it because I do something that I haven't done in a long time and it's like no big deal. It's easy breezy. And I'm like, why can't running me like this? I do this I just consciously working at this thing and it's just like not getting easier, which is running in a nutshell. But I just wish it were easier.
What other sport? I mean, obviously you're doing cycling and swimming now, but like, do you do any other sports that are like outside of the realm out there?
Golf. Like I'm a natural golfer, but I also love golfing. So like, but I play golf and I'm like, God, why can't I run like this?
Right. So that's one of the things that you're just like, oh, I pick up a golf club, I haven't touched it in 6 months. And you're like, boom, hitting away, birdies, eagles.
Yep. Totally.
What is it you find hard about the running? Is it?
What don't I find hard about the running? The going part of it, the building part of it, the fun part of it. Not like I just like earlier in my first half, I was in such a different body. I was just in such a different athletic level, which is frustrating because I never was able to see where I was. And I was in killer shape, like just insane shape, also deeply unhealthy, but like running felt so different then than it does today. And
how long ago was that? What's the time frame from then to now?
2019 was probably like when I said like, I can't train like this anymore. I need to fix what's wrong with me and like not do this like this. And like, look, I can run a 10K easy, and have a lot of fun doing it with friends. So like, I'm in great shape, but it's not the way it used to be. And even then I struggled. Like if I go watch, the best part about this is like, like sometimes with running, you convince yourself that it was so much eeasier, that you had so much fun and that, blah, 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 everything's on camera. So I can very easily go back to 3 years ago and watch me crying and being like, what the fuck? And be like, oh, okay, cool. I'm just gaslighting myself. That wasn't the experience.
Yeah.
You see, there's a real love. There is a real love-hate relationship going on there, isn't there? Wow.
Totally. I would never stop though. I love it too much. Like I genuinely need it. It totally helps me. I do my best creative thinking, although swimming and biking are giving it a run for its money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We had an awesome lady on here named Myrna. Have you met Myrna before?
Absolutely. I'm good friends with Myrna.
Yeah, she's pretty sweet. She's like, you guys are pretty similar in the sense of like your attitude, and you guys down to earth, lighthearted, like fun to talk to.
Adore her. She's so funny.
She was great fun, wasn't she?
Yeah. Yeah. But she's also like, she was like, and now I'm getting into biking. She was loving getting into bike.
Yeah, she got a gravel bike. She's an outdoor girl. Like, I hate trail running. I hate the outdoors. I would like, no.
Oh, really? That's interesting. City runner. You're like, no bugs, pavement.
Pavement. Close to bathrooms and many places to stop. If I want to call an Uber, I can. Like that's my comfort zone. My family goes to the woods every Memorial Day, and I'm just so miserable there. Like they make us hike, and I just am like, people should be on the list who do this. This is so dumb. I hate every moment of it.
One of the reasons that Mona took up cycling was because she was getting some injury problems.
Yeah.
What about you on that score? Are you clear of injuries, or you struggle a bit here and there, or?
I'm pretty good about my strength work now. I think in my 20s, I did not take it as seriously as I should have, but I'm so fortunate to have access to like really great physical therapists. Like I've been in physical therapy every week since I pretty much moved here. So that's been a huge blessing, but I've absolutely like run the gamut with injuries, like performance stuff, calf stuff, loading into my calves like a kook. Like I struggle with stuff, but like no big injuries, not for a while. I had plantar fasciitis for a minute, but rehabbed it. I've been pretty, like that's also one of the reasons why I really wanted to do an Ironman was like, I love how I feel when I'm not running 4 or 5 days a week. 3 days a week is like perfect for me.
Well, our lovely podcast sponsors, Barefoot Science, I believe have sent you or are sending you some of their insoles.
Yeah.
Kate and I are both big advocates of. I think it'd be really interesting to get a sort of some sort of follow-up when you've had a chance to try them out, because they are about stimulating nerves in the feet to train the brain to tell the body to move better. And I think with all the stuff that you're covering, the cognitive aspect of this, it'd be quite interesting to see whether it helps you with what you're doing, because if you're getting duff information from your feet, then the brain has to work harder to try and figure out how to manage the body. So what these insoles do is stimulate the nerves to give your brain better information. It'd be really interesting to see how you get on with that. I think there'll be some quite interesting experiences for you. You'll either love them or you'll hate them. And I think, but give them a go. When you get them, give them a go and go slowly. Make sure you talk to somebody at a head office or give Katie a call and take her through the process, because I think with your character type, personality type, you're going to need to figure out how to use them most effectively, but they will help you. So we want to get you back on at some point. Maybe we'll get you back on with Myrna and see how she's getting on with them. Can we clean it?
So curious to know how to make them work, or what does that mean?
Well, there's different levels that go into the bottom of the insole. And so you start off on, some people, just the dome, the foam, the form of the dome is stimulating enough for them. But most people start at level 1, right? And you wear that level until you can't feel it anymore under your mid-arch. And then you level up. But like what most people find is that it really switches on their feet. I don't know if you want to become more aware of your feet, but you will. And just, where they're placing while you're running and what they're feeling, it just switches them on from the ground up.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's a system, right? There's 7 levels that you go through.
You talked about your calves, and hammering the calves. And it's interesting. There's I'm sure you've come across this movement towards minimal shoes and barefoot running and such like. And of course, an awful lot of people who trade over to minimal shoes end up with calf and Achilles tendon problems because they don't know how to run in those shoes, and you have to retrain the body to do so. And what we know is if you stick our insoles in, because of the neurological firing that happens and the retraining of movement that happens as a consequence of it, that transition to running midfoot or forefoot becomes a much easier and safer transition for runners to make. So within your group of badass ladies, I love saying that, getting them moving better, more balanced, more aware of what their feet are doing can only result in one good thing, really. Yeah. So,
Kelly, what kind of shoes are you wearing right now? Are they like foot shaped? Are they just like your Nikes? Do they have cushioning? Are they Hokas?
I've got a bunch of different shoes, but I'm not a huge cushiony shoe person. I like a pretty low to mid cushion. I like to feel my foot on the ground, but I wear a bunch of different brands.
Yeah. When you're training for the long distance, which ones are you putting on these days?
I'll do Ultra Boost. I'll do a Nike Infinity React. I have, what else is in my rotation? I really like those new Lululemon shoes, the Blissfeel, is that what they're called? I like those. those are kind of like the three. They're all put away. I can't see them, but I normally have like 5 pairs of shoes that I'll reach for.
Wow, that's impressive.
What you'll find when you stick the insoles in is it'll create the feeling that you were walking barefoot on a nice sort of soft ground or sandy surface. It gives you that
But
feeling.
that
Connection.
makes me sweat. I hate being barefoot. Like ever since I was a child, it's like I don't know what it is. I have really sensitive feet, and it's
Like you in your socks.
totally. I doubt it's like being barefoot, but I know what you're saying. You know those like reflexology mats?
Yep.
Yeah.
Those make me throw up.
Well, this is why I said, knowing only seeing you in this brief session, but this is why I said you'll need to be aware of how to process through this system, because I've got a feeling you're going to be hypersensitive, and you'll need to go to. I've got some people when they put these on, really just can't wait to get up through the levels. Their brain is saying, "Give me that contact, give me that contact." Other people find, I'm feeling it's like having a stone in my shoe, and that's just on level 1. So then we have to say, okay, well, let's take the plug out, take the insert out, and just go dome only, as Katie was saying earlier. Now, I've got a feeling you're going to be one of those extremes in there. I think you'll find you'll have to go slowly and carefully through it, or your brain might suddenly say, "Oh my God, this is what I've been waiting for all my
We'll
life."
have to see.
But do you enjoy? Because you said you have some ultras, right? Which ultras are foot shaped.
No, I don't have any ultras.
Oh, I thought you said the first pair was ultra
Boost, Adidas.
Boost. Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, because like, have you ever tried a foot shaped shoe running?
I have. I thought they were fine.
Yeah. You didn't seem sold on it.
I feel like other shoes, like I wear a men's shoe anyway because my feet are wide.
Oh, well, exactly right. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm already like in a very wide shoe with like a lot of girth around it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but I'm only a women's 6, so they don't really make men's shoes for me. So I'm like, I used to run in like Nike Freeze and whatever, and then I hopped on this like wide foot shaped shoe train, and then I was like, I'm never going back. I have like all my Nikes. Because I used to snowboard for Nike, so I have literally had like a closet of Nike trainers that I'd never worn before. That was like, I'll get to those, and now I'm just like, get rid of them, because I'm like, never again, not going back.
That's so interesting.
What's also interesting is a couple of the brands now are coming out with shoes actually designed for women. And
Yeah.
you're thinking, this is 2023 here. They've been making shoes since God knows when, and suddenly now. And they're saying it's quite interesting how these brands come out and say, wow, we're making running shoes specifically for women, especially for women. And it's like, great. Why haven't you been doing it? They're kind of brushing over the fact that they've been fobbing you off with men's shoes for the last, the last is the same shape.
Yeah. I mean, it's also why we have terrible sports brands, though. It's because no one's been like,
right?
This isn't very good. And we're just getting what we get, and we're like,
speaking of,
whatever.
Forget you designers. Like, give me my support,
right? Which is so frustrating. I know it's crazy that women's shoes are just happening right now. Like, I can't even fathom it. It's just so bonkers.
Yeah. Well, I think
Kelly, what's your D-Day for your half Ironman?
September 23rd.
Okay, so you got a bit of time.
Yeah.
You got a bit of time.
We just started.
Well, Kelly, if people want to follow you or get on your badass women's crew, then why don't you let us know how they can do that?
You can go to badassladygang.com. That'll take you to pretty much everything. I'm Kelly KK Roberts on all the socials. But if you type Badass Lady Gang into anything, you'll find me. You'll find all of us.
There we go. Badass Lady Gang. Everyone, put it in your browsers. Check it out. Check out Kelly.
Keep doing what you're doing, Kelly. Well, it's fantastic. I think it's really, really impressive. And the fact that you've been doing it for 10 years, I hadn't actually realized you've been. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, time goes like what?
Long overnight success.
Yeah,
right.
So, will you come back on for a short, sharp chat when you've had a chance to try out the insoles?
I'd love to.
Cool, brilliant. We'll do that. I'll get that set up, and Meg will be on to you on that one. from Barefoot Science. And in the meantime, I'm going to say goodnight from me here in England. I'm going to unapologetically say I've gone from the water to the wine. It is
I
now
was like, me too.
8 o'clock at night now, so I'm okay for that one. So I've finished work. So thanks for joining. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Stuart, for co-hosting with me. Thank you, Kelly, for coming on. And thank you to all of our listeners for listening to our Born to be Barefoot podcast. If you haven't yet, don't forget to hit that follow button or subscribe. And so we can hear more amazing guests like Kelly coming on here.
Yeah. Badass.
Great. Badass lady gang. Hashtag badass lady.
I'm going to be saying this to everybody for the next week now. Everyone that comes into my treatment room is going to be, yeah, you're a badass. On that note,
It's the best.
it's brilliant. Well done. All right. Thanks ever so much, Kelly. Nice to meet you. See you again.
So nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. You guys have a good afternoon and good evening, Stuart.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. You've been listening to the Born to be Barefoot podcast with myself, Kate Tsuyuki, and the wonderful Stuart Gordon. Please remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star review. We'll see you guys next week.